No one is talking about this with WWE's Becky Lynch. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what that is. And I think the gigantic reason why it needs to be happening, or at least in the plans of working, because Becky Lynch, she's on her way back to WWE. That's been well established, multiple reports. She's nearing a return. According to PW Insider, she'll be back in time for the Raw premiere episode on Netflix in January. So, as I record this, we're in late November, y'all. We are getting much closer. Now, WWE can do various ways to promote her return. Most likely, since it is going to be the Netflix debut, they're going to advertise it in advance, or at least I think they should. I understand both thought processes, right? The thought process of, will you advertise her in advance? That way you build up momentum, you build up hype, you build up talk, speculation to the big moment. I also understand the other agreement, which is, or argument, you have her make a big surprise return because it instantly gets fans talking. I think at the end of the day, you're going to have fans talking, right? It's Becky Lynch. It's one of their biggest stars that they have, not only the women's division, but in the entire company. And the way that she was building up momentum before she took time off earlier this year, it was a big deal. And that is going to be felt within the fans. They're going to want to see Becky Lynch, to see what Becky Lynch is going to do, what she's capable of, who she's working with. Is she a babyface? Is she a heel? There's so many different questions surrounding Becky Lynch and her upcoming WWE return that it's a lot of fun to talk about and speculate. And that is something in which I wanted to talk about in today's video. Because the one thing that WWE fans aren't talking about when it comes to Becky Lynch, who is she going to work with when she returns? And I don't want this to be generalization because I actually pinpointed this. The big question is she going to be returning and working with our women's world champion, Liv Morgan? Is Liv Morgan going to be women's world champion by the time that Becky Lynch returns? And here's the reason why I think it's so important that we talk about a potential feud between Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. I understand that almost a year ago, right, coming up in January, WWE did a small yet pretty fun program between Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. They also have history from 2022, feuding over the championship as well. But in January of this year, they had that small program, and it was very interesting because they feuded after Liv returned to the Women's Royal Rumble match and kicked off the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour. It was also prior, or around the time, I should say, that Becky Lynch won the Women's Elimination Chamber match, securing a championship opportunity of her choosing at WrestleMania 40, in which she elected to go against Rhea Ripley and the Women's World Championship. Now, ultimately, she fell short there. We all know this. Rhea gets injured, backstage segment with Liv Morgan. She vacates the championship. They hold a battle royale on Monday Night Raw a few weeks later. Becky Lynch ends up winning it. This comes at a time in which they were in contract talks between WWE and Becky Lynch. It was one of the options on the table and one of the benefits of them trying to negotiate with Becky and getting her to re-sign. Now, she made it very clear she was not going to re-sign. She opted to go home. So what do? They have her put over Liv Morgan at the King and Queen of the Ring PLE, dropping the Women's World Championship in the process, setting up Liv for bigger and better things. 2 nights later on Monday Night Raw, she puts her over yet again inside of a steel cage match, and that was the last time that we've seen Becky Lynch on WWE television. Since then, Liv Morgan, she's set the world on fire and entered into a program with Rhea Ripley. Now, we still don't know exactly when we're going to get that third and final match between Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. Most likely, Liv is going to drop the Women's World title to Rhea Ripley. She still has to feud with Io Sky. So, does Becky Lynch return and work with Liv? Because it's a real good built-in storyline, right? They have a ton of history. The last time that we saw Becky Lynch, it was because Liv Morgan beat her twice, right? And that's the reason that she, quote unquote, took time off. What if you had Becky Lynch return, and what if you set that up for a potential WrestleMania match? Because then a lot of people, they do not believe that the Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley feud has enough legs to get to WrestleMania. So what if you just didn't do Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania? What if you did Liv and Becky Lynch? Because most likely Liv's not going to have the championship, and most likely Becky won't have the championship at that time. They both need something to do. They both need to do something very prolific and prominent. So why not just have them work with each other, right? Liv's a built-in heel already. Becky Lynch is probably going to return as a babyface. That was the last thing that we seen her last time. She is actually a better babyface, in my opinion. And let's all hope that she doesn't go back to being big time Bex. That was a god awful gimmick. But two big names at WWE's biggest stage of the year, WrestleMania. It's a high profile match. It'll get people talking. I think that's a route you can go. And I actually think that's a route that they should go. Now, who you're going to get with Rhea, at Mania, that I don't know. But there's a lot of interesting parts. And then, looking down the road, okay, WWE, they usually hold their draft shortly around after WrestleMania. You could have Becky go back to SmackDown, right? She, before the man gimmick, she really accelerated her career, especially in late 2018, feuding with Charlotte Flair. You could have her go back to SmackDown. I don't think they will, considering they're going to want to have a lot of star power on Monday Night Raw. And because Netflix and everything like that. And Raw is going to go back to being the A show. Unfortunately, both Raw and SmackDown are going to be 3 hours, which is god awful, but I digress. Either way, there's a lot of good out there that is lined up for Becky Lynch. There's a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of interesting matchups. And it's something in which I'm looking forward to, and a lot of people are looking forward to. Look, she is a megastar. There ain't no doubt about it. When her name is added to the marquee, when her name is mentioned on television, when her name is mentioned on social media, people engage. They click, they watch, they listen, they tune in, they buy a ticket to see. That's a marquee star. That's Becky Lynch. Having her back will help the women's division, helping the company in the process. A lot of positives here with Becky Lynch that you got to look at, and you got to look at strongly. And I cannot wait to see where they go with Becky Lynch in the near future.